Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I would like to talk about should a nation apologize for the crimes of its past? In the aftermath of an intergroup conflict, along with instrumental repression, victims may request an apology on behalf of the perpetrators. Yet such political apologies are often not given. Whereas we know a lot about the motivations of the victims, less is known about when and why the perpetrators are willing to apologize. In this study, from the perspective of the perpetrator group, we simultaneously examine and compare support for a political apology and for instrumental repression, like, for example, is financial support and other form of assistance offered to both former colonies and colonial origin minorities living in the country responsible for the past colonization. We considered the indirect role of positive and negative representations of the colonial past via feelings of group-based guilt. Certainly, it's hard not to take a dim view of European colonialism entailing, as it did, theft, racism, cultural destruction, slavery, and sometimes genocide. Yet, recognizing the violations of colonialism doesn't automatically lead to the conclusion that the states that once practiced it should now apologize for their historical misdeeds. According to my opinion, my argument is today's generation cannot and should not be held accountable for the behavior of their predecessors. Indeed, from a liberal perspective, the idea of holding people responsible for the crimes of their ancestors is deeply unsatisfactory. People wouldn't agree would say that while the current generation did not actually commit the crimes, many within it still reap the rewards of a world in which white Europeans and the descendants of white settlers remain disproportionately privileged in comparison to the peoples they once conquered. But there are problems with this argument. There's little doubt that many accrued their contemporary privilege to the true empire, but this position lacks any nuance in distinguishing between the perpetrators, foot, foot soldiers, onlookers, objectors, and the current generation. Moreover, clearly, clearly, many white Europeans also suffered in the colonial process, just as not all benefit from modern capitalism or 21st century overseas wars. My conclusion is a nation should not apologize for its crime because it was done by previous generation, not by current generation. But those nations who's guilty should not repeat it again and increase their relationship for the countries who were being victim. I think that's everything from me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.